Hi, this is Rishabh Rajan for AskAudio, and this is a review of the all-new delay plugin bundle from Arturia called 3 Delays You'll Actually Use. So if you have been following Arturia's software effects release, this is the 4th collection in their Effects You'll Actually Use series. In this collection, you get 3 delay effects. The first here is a model of the famous Roland RE201 Space Echo. They're calling it Delay Tape 201. The original was a tape delay effect with a built-in spring reverb. The plugin is a stereo version unlike the original and has a bunch of add-on features we will check out in a bit. Next is a Memory Brigade. If you're a guitar player, you should recognize the interface as it models a Electro-Harmonix Memory Man Stompbox delay. This is a Bucket Brigade device-based delay, so it has a dark tonality you would expect. Definitely my favorite from the collection. Oh, and this too is in stereo, unlike the guitar pedal. Lastly, there's the Delay Eternity, which is not modeling any specific hardware unit, but has the most features and is a real Swiss Army knife delay. Arturia is calling this the digital delay, but it does have a fantastic analog vibe to it as well. Alright, so let's check out these 3 delays you will actually use. Let's start with the Delay Tape 201. This is the default preset here. So standard delay controls here the repeat rate for the left and right channel independently, but it can also be synced to tempo as well as linked. So you can have the same value on both left and right. Just like on the original Space Echo, adjusting the repeat rate does affect the pitch. Over here there's an input volume control. Increasing this does overdrive the signal, and you get that nice tape saturation effect. There's a peak level indicator as well for that. Now here's something that wasn't there on the original machine. There's a delay type option, so your standard left-right delay. And then there's ping pong mode, where the delay appears to alternate between the left and right channel. Quite common on digital delay units. Here's something very unique, mid-side mode. So in this mode, we don't have left and right anymore, we have mid and side. They're linked right now, but I can unlink it, so I can get the sides to have a different delay time versus the mid. Now I haven't seen this on any other delay unit, so a very cool feature here. At the bottom here we have a couple of stereo options. So when the repeat rate is perfectly in sync in left-right mode, I can offset the rate ever so slightly to widen the stereo image. Make it even more wide. You can also have an inverse value here. So this value just adds a slight time delay between the left and right channel. And then there's this overall width control. So I can make the overall stereo width very mono or even wider. So let's say we're in ping pong mode. Independent left and right delay times with this very nice stereo width, but we can also make it completely mono. Very useful feature on a stereo delay. Let's go back here and check out the mode selector. So there are 11 different modes. The first 4 modes are for the delay only, not the reverb. Yes, there is a reverb built in here as well. From 5 to 11, it's delay as well as reverb running simultaneously. Now the reason we have so many combination modes is because there are 3 different active tape heads. So you can have different permutations and combinations of the active heads. And then finally there's also this reverb only mode, where the delay doesn't work, but you can just use the reverb. You can still crank up the input volume. The Roland Space Echo had a built-in spring reverb tank, so that's what this is emulating here. I really like the overdriven sound on this plugin. Alright, let's check out intensity, which is essentially delay repeats or feedback. So the higher this value is set to, the longer you will hear those delay trails. Of course, we can crank it up to the maximum to get that infinite feedback mode. You can clearly hear the pitch modulation as I'm adjusting the repeat rate here on the left channel. When I stop the audio, you're going to hear that very cool infinite feedback sound. There's an overall echo amount control. as well as a dry-wet control over here. You can use the panic button to kill this infinite feedback, or just bring the intensity down. There's a pretty basic EQ built in, bass and treble. It can be a bit subtle, especially the bass. Let's set the dry wet to completely wet, so we'll just hear the delay. Now we can hear that EQ a bit better. Now it's possible that the signal being fed into the delay doesn't have that much low frequency, so that's why the bass dial is not making much of a difference, but the effect of the treble dial is a bit more obvious. Now, if you've used any other Arturia plugins, you will know that they go beyond just faithfully emulating a hardware device. They will also give you additional controls. And here are the additional controls for the delay tape. You get an input equalizer here. I'll set the dry wet to all the way wet so we can really hear the effect of this equalizer. Maybe you have different rates on the left and right channel. Alright, so I'm going to turn on the EQ now. There's a high pass filter here. You can clearly hear how those low frequencies get affected. And then there's a parametric EQ, where you can select the frequency here, adjust gain, and also adjust the Q. And lastly, a low pass filter to cut out those high frequencies. Alright, pretty straightforward. Next we have some interesting controls here. Motor inertia is pretty interesting. So we already know that adjusting the repeat rate while the signal is active produces that pitch shifting effect. With the motor inertia, we can adjust the speed of that pitch modulation effect. So setting it at maximum produces a very slow pitch modulation. A lot more obvious now. Of course, that's at maximum, so you can adjust that to taste. Next, there's tape flutter. So this will produce random pitch variation on the signal, kind of creating that chorus-like effect. It'll probably be a bit more obvious with the dry wet set to a lower value. And then you can also add on some tape noise. This can be a bit more subtle. You can definitely hear that flutter. The noise will be a bit more obvious when there's no signal present. So it's essentially just tape hiss. So this section here covers all the different tape artifacts you can introduce into your signal. And then we have an LFO here, which is freely assignable to any of the controls from this list. So let's try assigning it to intensity here. This is the amount, rate control, which can also be synced to tempo, and LFO shape options. Let's choose this ramp up shape. Right now this is affecting the intensity control here. Actually, let's go for echo amount. I think that'll be a bit more obvious. I'll set the sync rate to a quarter note. So now we get that ducking sidechain compression type effect, specifically on the delay that is. We can also switch up the shape to sample and hold, affect the rate parameter, and now we're going to get constant change of repeat rate as well as pitch modulation. A lot of fun you can have with assigning this LFO to any of these parameters over here. Alright, so that's the delay tape 201. Alright, let's now check out the analog emulation of the memory man, the Arturia memory brigade. The controls are very similar to the delay tape. Starting with the input level, again you can crank this up to overdrive the signal. There is an overdrive indicator. Left-right delay times which can be linked as well as synced. There's a feedback control. Overall echo level, as well as the dry-wet, they call it blend here though. Same 3 different modes, left, right, ping pong, mid-side. The same 2 stereo controls with the stereo offset and stereo width. One new feature here is the chorus vibrato. And then there's an overall on-off button, just like an actual guitar stomp pedal. Now on the original Memory Man, the maximum delay size was, I believe, 550 milliseconds. But in the deluxe mode, we can get up to 1100 milliseconds delay time. Now this can be a bit confusing, especially when it's set to the classic mode. And then let's say we adjust the delay time. I'm going to set it to a quarter note. Now if you listen to the metronome clicks of the quarter note, that delay doesn't sound like a quarter note delay. But if you set this to the deluxe mode, the delay time is going to sound a lot more correct. So just be aware of that. But of course, you can choose whichever works best for you. Alright, let's now have a listen to the delay. Obviously, it's in stereo, unlike the guitar pedal. So if you've heard the sound of a BBD-based delay unit or the original Memory Man, it has a very dark tonality to it. And this plugin replicates that perfectly. Let's check out the chorus. You can hear the pitch warble, kind of like the tape flutter. And then there's vibrato, which has a bit more of an exaggerated pitch modulation. Very cool to have this as a plugin now. Let's now check out that infinite feedback mode. So I'll just crank up the feedback to the maximum. And then stop the playhead. Yeah, so this is pretty much the sound of the Memory Man. Very nice, very dark tonality. Alright, let's check out the extended controls. So, same input equalizer. I won't go over this again. Same thing with the LFO over here. You can assign it to any of these parameters. What's new here is an envelope follower. So let's check out how this works. We can assign this to any parameter from this list here. Let's try it on the overall level. So echo level here. I'll increase the sensitivity, and now you can see the incoming signal here on the LEDs. Let's make this a fast attack and a slightly slow release. I'll increase the amount. So now you can hear that pumping effect. We can also have an inverse amount here. Let's try affecting something else. How about the left delay and right delay time? That creates an interesting pitch modulation effect. While we're here, let's make use of the LFO as well. So aside from just a standard delay plugin, this can be used in a very creative way for interesting sound design possibilities. And of course, the sound is never harsh. It's got that very smooth, mellow tonality to it. Alright, so that's Arturia's Memory Brigade. The final delay here in this bundle is the Delay Eternity. This does not model any specific hardware device, but it has a lot of features. So you can think of it as a 2-tap delay. There are 2 lines here, along with 2 effects for each delay line. There are a bunch of delay modes, delay time modes. There's also the MS mode. We're already familiar with these controls over here, just like the previous 2 delay plugins. Alright, let's first check out the time mode. So up to now, we've heard that pitch shifting effect whenever the delay time is changed. So in repitch mode, we get that exact same effect. But when we switch to fade mode, we do not have that effect. It just adds a smoothing function when changing the delay time. Now digital mode is very similar, except it does not add any fades. So when shifting from one delay time to another, you may hear slight glitches. So only use this mode if you want to add some of that digital artifacts into your delays. Other parameters here are also something you should be familiar with: link, sync, and offset. Let's unlink the 2 delays. So independent left and right delay time. Let's check out the bit crusher. So we can reduce the resolution and also the sample rate. Let's set the driver to wet so we can really hear this. You'll notice this is only affecting the processed or the wet signal. Pretty cool. Let's check out the filter now. Actually, the filter was already on. I'll disable the bit crusher. Let's start with the 6 dB per octave non-resonant low pass. This is the high pass mode. And there's also a band pass. There's an SEM mode as well with resonance. I'm guessing it's 12 dB per octave, just like Tom Oberheim's design. Let's bring in some downsampling at the same time. So it can be a lot of fun to play around with the bit crusher and the filter. Let's try the 36 dB per octave slope mode. So no resonance, just a cutoff. Very steep filter. And this will be a very narrow bandpass. Now so far we've only used line 1 here. We can engage line 2 depending on the delay mode we select. Let's check out some of these other delay modes. We already know ping pong. Now pan is very interesting. You'll notice that offset dial is now called pan speed. So in this mode, the delay will start in the middle or center and gradually fan out or spread across the stereo image. A very interesting effect. The pan speed dial will control how quickly this fanning will occur. You'll hear it more obviously when I start and quickly stop the transport. Let's disable the effects to hear this a bit better. Alright, now you can really hear that. You'll notice how the delay is kind of trailing off to the left side of the stereo image. Infinite feedback sounds awesome on this plugin as well. Alright, let's now check out the dual mode where we can now use line 2. Now in this mode, the 2 lines are running in parallel. So we essentially get 4 different delay times. I'll set all 4 to different values. So we should hear 4 distinct delays. And of course, with the feedback, those individual delays are going to repeat, which should create a very complex overall texture. Let's also engage the bit crusher as well as the filter. It's already on line 2. Let's set it on for line 1. So now we have a very complex delay, but it's kind of controlled because of the filter and the bit crusher. Well, more specifically, the filter. Alright, now the last mode here is dual serial. So it's still dual, but the signal is running in series. So first the signal goes through line 1 and then to line 2. So essentially the line 2 delay is going to be a lot longer than in dual parallel mode. Of course, let's not forget about the extended controls. So we have the same input equalizer, we have an envelope follower as well, but 2 destinations here. 2 LFOs and 2 destinations each for the 2 LFOs. So like I said, a very, very powerful delay unit here. In fact, I would say this has become more like a sound design tool. So those are 3 delays you will actually use from Arturia. Now it sounds a bit weird to say that, but these are 3 fantastic delay units, so sure, why not use them? Watch out for CPU usage, because even though it is a delay plugin, I notice it does take up a little bit more CPU than a standard stock delay plugin. So I wouldn't find myself using this on each and every channel in a very busy mix. But then again, don't forget, these are very powerful delay units. The first 2 are analog emulation, so that's probably taking up a lot of CPU. And the delay eternity over here has so much synthesis capabilities, it makes sense that it would take up that much CPU. Now don't get me wrong, it's not that much of a load on the CPU. I would say about 2 to 3% I'm noticing on the DAW meter. But like I said, it could add up. Alright, so this is Rishabh Rajan signing off for AskAudio. Let me know what you think about this new collection of delays from Arturia, and I'll see you in the next one.